Hi everybody, welcome to the South Australian Sports Show. I hope you can stay with us for the next hour. Barry Curtin's making jokes at me as I'm trying to do the introduction. So welcome Barry Curtin and Greg Anderson, a surprise visitor to the show.
I've jumped in.
And good to have you here as well, mate. Hey, you normally start the show, we talk about all the good things that have happened. And this is a really tricky one to put into a good perspective. We're talking about the passing of Neil Curley, his funeral on Monday, the 25th of July. It was as good as you could hope a funeral to be. A moment where we got to enjoy Curl's life and some of the stories. And you walk away from it afterwards. And just to give you an idea, so Wayne Jackson did the eulogy and it was just brilliant. And Jacko and him have been friends right from Jacko was a runner for him. So there's some of the stories you'd heard, some new ones. Then you had Cornsey have a chat. Peter Marker had a chat about their playing days with Curley as a coach. Eddie Maguire got up and talked about the rivalry between South Australia and Victoria. And, you know, Mark Rasciuto spoke at the end and he got a little emotive towards the end. But Curls' daughter Gail got up and spoke, and then his grandson Campbell and his we call it son-in-law Lee, and they were brilliant. The three of them started it. Campbell's a young fella. It was just tingling stuff. And then it finishes, and you get a chance to see Curls' wife Barb, and I'm just amazed. She's such an amazing lady, and there's no other way of describing it. She was just perfect on the day. And you know, there's a moment where you say he was the king. He's clearly the queen. There is no doubt. And she was just so stoic about it all. And I want to touch on it, not because I want to linger, it was just a great moment. And the part that was really amazing was it had been a pretty ordinary day. It had been raining and the pallbearers took the coffin down to the ground and it did a lap of honour around Adelaide Oval. About 10 minutes before that happened, the sun came out, and then the sun stayed out for the whole lap, and about 15 minutes after that, started pouring with rain. And you go, there's just some moments that you go, what's going on here? You know, has the king already got some contacts up there already? And then the people in the room afterwards, because it's just wall to wall people that he had touched over the journey from, you know, blokes at West Adelaide, Glenelg, South Adelaide, or people that he played against, or
state footy is just a legend.
Everyone had a story. He's a legend, and now there's a drive to get him inducted as a legend in the AFL Hall of Fame. And Eddie touched on in his speech that it's a joke that he's not already in it.
I was really surprised at that as well. I know Sam Newman brought it up on radio.
And Sam was there too. You know, again, Mark Soderstrom hosted it and did a magnificent job on the footage. It was just, you're saying, if you wanted something to be perfect, this was as good as it gets at a funeral. So I just want to say it was a good story, even though we lost Neil through that. Just, you know, to Barb and her family, you know, we all send our sympathies, but it couldn't have been better for them.
My greatest memory of Neil was when we were lucky enough to win the state game, and he had that bet with Ted Whitten, and he had to walk down Rundle Mall, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I always think of that every time I think of Neil Curley, that he sent Ted Whitten down Rundle Mall with our state Guernsey, and I thought it was fantastic.
You know, Neil Curley was one of the people that I'm a passionate South Australian, always have been, and I will fight to the death for this state because I've always been the same. But really, you're influenced by this guy, and others, of course. But you know, he's another one that was so passionate about SA,
and that was one of the things that got mentioned through the speaking is that he was the one that stood up largely for South Australia. So hey, there's some good footballers over here, you know. Not all over here in Victoria. So anyway, it was a great moment and a great memory. And Barb Curley, you are an absolute superstar. We need to get over to Millie for the news. Millie, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everyone. I hope you have been keeping well and, as always, watching lots of sport. So let's get into it. Still sitting top of the table, Geelong enjoyed a strong third quarter fight back from Port Adelaide to extend its winning streak to 9 games with a 12-point win at Adelaide Oval on Saturday. It was a tough first half for Port Adelaide, with Geelong piling on 6 goals in the second quarter, leaving them 34 points down at half-time. Whatever was said in the Port locker room at half-time, though, did spark passion in the side as they stormed into the third quarter, kicking 8 goals to Geelong's 1. Charlie Dixon sparked Port's remarkable third-term turnaround with 11 disposals, 7 contested possessions and 2 goals for the quarter. Mitch Georgiadis kicked 3 goals for the game and earned himself another Mark of the Year contender with a leaping effort over teammate Todd Marshall. Unfortunately for Port Adelaide, it wasn't enough for the side as Geelong's Tom Hawkins had the final say, kicking the last 2 goals of the game. The loss to Geelong has reignited conversations about Port Adelaide head coach Ken Hinkley and whether he will continue in the side in 2023. The game concluded with a final score of 106 to 94. Across town, it was a battle of the birds on the weekend, with the Crows falling short to the Swans at the SCG on Saturday. The Swans broke the record for the highest score in the first quarter this year, managing to kick 9 goals 3 for the first quarter. That is the team's best performance since 1997 against Melbourne. Commendations were had to the Crows for fending off the likes of Buddy Franklin for most of the game, with Crow star Rory Laird earning himself a haul of 38 touches, 11 clearances and 14 inside 50s. Although Buddy Franklin was contained for most of the match, he still managed to surpass Geelong icon Gary Ablett Sr. to move up to number 5 spot on the all-time goal-kicking leaderboard, finishing the afternoon with 1,034 goals to his name. The Swans ended the game with a final score of 118 points to the Crows' 85. The Boomers have held on to a gripping 2-point win victory over Lebanon to secure their second straight Asia Cup title in Indonesia on Sunday night. Australia led by 14 points heading into the final quarter, but a furious final term saw Lebanon respond with a 15-point shootout in the final term. With just 4 seconds left on the clock, Lebanon's Ali Haider missed a Hail Mary shot for the chance to take the win home. Australia hung on for a dramatic victory, with the Boomers centre Thon Maker maintaining his impressive form throughout the game and the tournament to end with the 14 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks and 3 assists to his name. The match concluded with a nail-biting score of 75-73. Matilda's captain, Sam Kerr has become the first female footballer to feature on the cover of a global version of the widely popular FIFA video game. Kerr has rightfully earned her spot on the front cover, scoring 56 goals in 108 appearances for her country, and will lead the charge at the Women's World Cup being held in Australia and New Zealand in 2023. The video game has sold an estimated 350 million copies since its launch, with annual editions usually grossing around 30 million sales in either physical or digital versions. The Ultimate Edition of FIFA's release date is yet to be announced, but is expected to be seen in late September. That is all the news I have for you this week. I'm Millie Walters. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll be right back for more on the SA Sports Show.